Let's examine 3 significant NASA material controversies that might shed light on what could have prompted such a reaction from Brian Cox. The STS-75 tether incident from 1996 remains one of NASA's most discussed mysteries. During this mission, a satellite tether experiment broke. And as the tether drifted away, numerous disc-shaped objects appeared around it. What makes this case compelling is how these objects move. They pulsate with light, change direction independently, and pass behind the tether, proving they weren't camera artifacts. NASA's explanation was that these were ice particles illuminated by sunlight. But many scientists have questioned this, noting their uniform disk shape and apparent intelligent movement. If these were indeed ice particles or debris, they should follow predictable orbital mechanics, not appear to swarm with purpose. The Gemini 4 mission from 1965 captured something equally puzzling as astronaut Ed White performed America's first spacewalk. The camera documented what appears to be a dark structured object in Earth's upper atmosphere. The object had distinct geometric edges, not consistent with space debris or ejected mission components. What's particularly strange is NASA's lack of follow-up or explanation. For an agency that meticulously documents and analyzes everything, this silence is uncharacteristic. If it were easily explainable, why not just explain it? The third case involves the supposed Apollo 20 material that appeared online in 2007. While widely considered a hoax, what's interesting is that some of the lunar terrain shown matches actual topography in the Moon's Delport crater. The material appears to show an elongated structure partially buried in lunar soil. The creator claimed it was from a secret Apollo mission that discovered an ancient spacecraft on the lunar surface. While most experts dismiss this entirely, what remains puzzling is that certain geographical features shown match real NASA Luna survey data that wasn't publicly accessible when the hoax first appeared. Okay, before you roll your eyes, just look at this. I'm not saying this proves anything, but what's weirder? The material itself or NASA's total silence around it? Wouldn't you expect a clear debunk from them, a statement, but instead just nothing? These cases represent the kind of material that could potentially make someone like Brian Cox uncomfortable if shown unexpectedly in a scientific program. Not because they definitively show extraterrestrial technology, but because they present anomalies that science hasn't satisfactorily explained. The kind of mystery that doesn't fit neatly into a science education program. And if that was strange, what happens next involves AI, missing reels, and a physicist who may have seen something the public still hasn't. The quantum enhancement theory. What many people don't realize is that NASA has been quietly digitizing thousands of old Apollo mission reels between 2017 and 2022. This massive archival project aimed to preserve deteriorating analog films before they were lost forever. But the process revealed something unexpected. As part of this digitization effort, Google's Quantum AI division reportedly offered their advanced algorithms to denoise and enhance these historic recordings. This wasn't your standard Instagram filter. This was cutting-edge quantum computing analyzing millions of frames at the subpixel level. During one batch enhancement of lunar surface footage, something unusual emerged. A geometric formation appeared in several frames. A structure that was completely invisible in the original analog versions. What makes this particularly compelling is that these patterns didn't look random or natural. According to one AI developer who worked on the project and spoke on condition of anonymity, what we found was too symmetrical, too complex to be explained by natural lunar features. The pattern had clear right angles and repeated elements. Natural formations don't do that. The most intriguing part, one of these enhanced frames allegedly ended up in the BBC documentary segment that prompted Cox's reaction. Perhaps what startled him wasn't what NASA had intentionally hidden, but what they never knew was there until AI revealed it. Think about it. The astronauts saw one thing. We saw a blurry video, but a quantum AI sees everything in the data. Every hidden shadow, every subtle heat bloom, every single pixel. So the real question isn't what did NASA hide? It's what did they miss until now? This raises profound questions about historical footage across all fields. How many other scientific discoveries, historical moments, or space missions might contain information invisible to the human eye? What else might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right technology to reveal it? If a respected physicist like Brian Cox was taken aback by enhanced footage showing structures that shouldn't exist on the lunar surface, his reaction becomes more understandable. Not as someone participating in a cover-up, but as a scientist confronted with evidence that challenges conventional understanding. In 2023, a Freedom of Information Act request revealed something NASA likely never intended for public view. An internal email exchange that shed light on how the agency handles anomalous observations. The emails, dated from 2019, contained a subject line that immediately raised eyebrows. ISS feed UAP anomaly at frame 42,000. What followed was even more revealing. One senior NASA official wrote to colleagues, "Publishing this will cause unnecessary speculation. Recommend cutting segment 2.1 feet." Despite this internal recommendation, the footage was ultimately released. According to sources familiar with the decision, growing public pressure for transparency forced NASA's hand. The space agency found itself caught between scientific caution and public accountability. The object that prompted such concern was described in the emails as angular, reflective, and performing a maneuver inconsistent with orbital mechanics. Specifically, a 90 degrees turn at speed. Such a movement would require energy and propulsion technology beyond our current capabilities. This raises an intriguing possibility about Brian Cox's reaction. As someone who regularly collaborates with space agencies for his documentaries, Cox may have seen a version of this footage before its public release, perhaps during a research visit to JPL or during BBC production meetings. NASA scientists face a genuine ethical dilemma with such material. On one hand, they're committed to public science and transparency. On the other, releasing unexplained phenomena without context can fuel wild speculation and potentially undermine scientific credibility. If Cox had advanced knowledge of this material and the controversy surrounding it, his reaction makes perfect sense. As a scientist dedicated to public understanding, seeing controversial footage air without proper context would naturally concern him. The situation illuminates the delicate balance NASA must maintain between acknowledging genuine mysteries and avoiding sensationalism. If an object truly performed physics-defying maneuvers near the ISS, should that be shared with the public immediately or studied thoroughly first? We've shown you the visuals, but the real twist is how this all fits into a pattern. Missing reels, denied missions, and footage NASA can't account for. The ejected from the archive theory. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of NASA's footage history is the pattern of mysteriously missing materials that should have been preserved at all costs. Several independent researchers have meticulously documented gaps in NASA's archives, particularly regarding Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 raw footage. These weren't insignificant clips. They were hours of original mission footage from humanity's first steps on another world. In 2009, NASA made a shocking admission. The space agency stated that it had accidentally erased the original high-resolution moonwalk tapes from Apollo 11. According to their explanation, the valuable tapes were recycled during a tape shortage in the 1970s and 1980s. Think about what that means. The most significant human achievement of the 20th century, erased to save a few dollars on magnetic tape. The official explanation strains credibility considering NASA's otherwise meticulous documentation procedures. More concerning are the claims from former NASA data librarian Ken Johnston, who has publicly stated he was instructed to destroy original photo negatives from lunar missions. Johnston maintains that certain images showing anomalous structures or objects were systematically removed from public archives. What's particularly strange is that footage from Apollo missions 18, 19, and 20 remains classified, despite NASA officially stating these missions were canceled due to budget cuts. If these missions never happened, what exactly is there to classify? Why would a government agency erase mankind's greatest moment by mistake? These tapes weren't junk. They were historic, priceless. And now we're told, oops, sorry? You don't accidentally lose that kind of data. Not unless someone wanted it gone. The pattern suggests a deliberate process of curating what the public sees from space exploration. Not necessarily to hide alien evidence, but perhaps to control the narrative around unexplained phenomena that don't fit neatly into current scientific understanding. This context makes Brian Cox's apparent discomfort more understandable. If material that was supposedly erased or never existed suddenly appeared in a BBC documentary he was hosting, his professional reputation would be at stake. His reaction might well have been genuine surprise at seeing something he thought had been permanently removed from public view. Why Cox? Why now? The question remains, why would Brian Cox of all people become entangled in this controversy? The answer lies in his unique position in the scientific community. Cox's credibility is virtually unmatched in science communication. He's not just a TV presenter. He's a particle physicist who worked on the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. He's visited NASA facilities numerous times and collaborated with space agencies worldwide. His academic credentials and public trust make him the antithesis of a conspiracy theorist. This is precisely why his reaction carries such weight. When someone who has spent their career promoting rational science and debunking pseudoscience suddenly questions NASA footage, people notice. If Brian Cox had concerns about material being shown, those concerns likely had a substantial basis. According to production sources, Cox reportedly requested that one specific segment of the 2024 Expanding Cosmos docuseries be cut before broadcast, but was overruled by network executives. That segment, the very one containing the enhanced tether footage that prompted his now famous reaction. What makes this particularly significant is Cox's consistent history of scientific integrity. This is the same man who publicly ridiculed moon landing conspiracy theories and dismissed supposed alien bodies as way too humanoid to be believable. He's built his reputation on evidence-based science and skepticism toward extraordinary claims. So when someone with this background suddenly expresses concern about NASA footage, it represents a deviation from his established pattern. Cox isn't someone who casually questions scientific institutions or makes dramatic statements for attention. His apparent discomfort suggests he saw something that genuinely troubled him as a scientist. The timing is also significant, with NASA's unidentified anomalous phenomena research now official and public. The scientific community is cautiously acknowledging that unexplained phenomena deserve serious study. Cox's comment emerges during this shift toward more open scientific inquiry into previously dismissed topics. Perhaps what makes this story compelling isn't just what Cox might have seen, but what it represents. The tension between scientific caution and public transparency in an age where advanced technologies can reveal what was previously hidden. Let's be real. Our feeds are flooded with AI voice clones, deepfakes, and recycled leaks. But that doesn't mean every strange video is fake. Sometimes truth sneaks through the noise and gets pulled offline before people can react. What we're seeing with this Brian Cox situation isn't about proving aliens exist or that NASA is hiding something supernatural. It's about the gaps in our knowledge, the moments when respected scientists encounter something they can't readily explain with current models. We live in an era where sophisticated AI can generate convincing fake videos of anyone saying anything. Voice cloning technology can make Brian Cox appear to say words he never uttered. But amid this sea of manipulation, genuine anomalies still exist. The truly compelling cases are often the ones that disappear quickly. Videos removed within hours, clips that vanish from archives, comments that get walked back or reframed. When information gets scrubbed that quickly, it raises legitimate questions about why. This pattern of disappearing content doesn't always indicate conspiracy. Sometimes it reflects institutional caution or concern about misinterpretation. But it does suggest that in our digital world, the window for truth can close as quickly as it opens. What makes Cox's apparent reaction significant is that it happened organically, in real time, before anyone had a chance to consider the implications. It was an unscripted moment of scientific honesty from someone with nothing to gain, and potentially much to lose, professionally. Before we conclude, let's address some established facts that provide important context to this story. NASA actually maintains one of the most open media policies of any government agency. According to NASA's own guidelines, NASA content, images, audio, video, and related materials are generally not subject to copyright in the United States and can be freely used for informational purposes without permission. The agency typically encourages sharing its imagery and data for educational and scientific purposes. Brian Cox has consistently positioned himself as a scientific skeptic throughout his career. He famously dismissed moon landing deniers as a colossal knob on social media during the 46th anniversary of Apollo 11. When presented with alleged alien corpses in Mexico, Cox noted they were way too humanoid to be extraterrestrial and suggested simple DNA testing would resolve the matter. Many anomalies in space footage have perfectly rational explanations. Optical distortions are common in the space environment due to extreme temperature differences, radiation effects on camera sensors, and light refraction through various materials. What appears mysterious in one frame often becomes explainable when viewed in sequence or from different angles. NASA regularly conducts public live streams from the International Space Station and other missions. In September 2023, the agency held a public briefing on unidentified anomalous phenomena and published the full report online. This transparency effort included establishing a framework for examining UAP from a scientific perspective and creating a roadmap for how to use data and the tools of science to move our understanding of UAP forward. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter continues to document and publicly share detailed imagery of the Moon, including the far side. For example, in June 2024, LRO released images showing China's Chang'e 6 lander on the lunar far side. What initially appears as a mysterious bright spot is simply the lander and its impact disturbance, all published openly by NASA, not hidden from view. Did Brian Cox really say it? Did he see something we weren't supposed to? We may never know for sure. But the footage exists. The patterns are real. And the science, more advanced than ever. If NASA's own AI enhancements are now revealing anomalies buried in our past, it's not about whether something was hidden. It's about whether we're finally ready to see it. The real story may not be about aliens or cover-ups. It might be about the limitations of human perception and how advancing technology continually reveals new layers of reality. What if the most profound discoveries aren't lurking in classified vaults, but hiding in plain sight in data we've had all along but couldn't properly analyze? As quantum computing and AI continue to evolve, they will inevitably uncover patterns and anomalies in historical scientific data that previous generations missed. Perhaps what Brian Cox reacted to wasn't evidence of extraterrestrial life, but the humbling reminder that science is never settled. That tomorrow's technology will always challenge today's certainties. That possibility is both unsettling and exhilarating for anyone dedicated to scientific truth. And it may explain why a renowned physicist might have a moment of genuine concern when confronted with it unexpectedly on live television. Subscribe for more hidden science, enhanced footage, and insider space reports. Hit the bell because you'll want to be first when the next clip drops. If you found this analysis thought-provoking, share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Brian Cox really saw?